Hello, welcome to our Legacy of Kings week. As Tegan has already said in her book review, we are doing Legacy of Kings this week. I'm a little behind as usual because, I'm just really busy, so I'm behind a lot. So we are doing Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman. Super exciting. Wonderful. Okay. Alright, so real quick, the summary of this book is kind of difficult to give. It would be a really long summary. Well, Tegan gave a really good one, actually, so if you want to check out a really good summary, you should watch her video on Legacy of Kings review, but I'll give a brief one. It centers around like 5 or 6 characters, quite a few, in the time period of Alexander the Great when he was very young, before he ascended the throne to Macedon. Anyway, and it centers around a few characters and their struggles between, like, their destiny and what they're required to do, especially Alexander being expected to be who he is as the son of the king and what he's expected to become, as well as a few other characters that revolve around him. And like Katerina, who's one of my favorites, she's trying to figure out what happened to her mother and seek revenge. We have Alexander's mother, Olympias, who is one of our villains, and she's a pretty good one at that. She's kind of scary. We have Heth, which is, as Tegan said, one of her favorites, and he's also one of mine as well. He is Alexander's best friend, so it's really interesting to see their interaction. And then we also have Jacob, who is Katerina's oldest friend, kind of boyfriend. We don't really know what they are, but the whole book, he tries to really win her over in this life around Alexander as well. And then there are a few storylines that are completely separate but kind of connected to Alexander and Katerina and Jacob and Heth. And that would be Zofia is her name, but she goes by Zoe. She is supposed to be marrying Alexander the Great, but she never actually meets him in the book. So it's really interesting to see her storyline as well. But I don't want to give away too much. So it's about revenge and evil and spirits and the gods and all that other good stuff that comes with Greek gods and interesting stuff. It's kind of hard to say what kind of genre it is exactly. It's obviously young adult, it's obviously fantasy, but it also has a whole bunch of historical fiction aspects as well. I love historical fiction, I love it. So I love that part about it, and I really, really, really enjoy learning about Greek gods and goddesses. I love Greek mythology, it's so interesting, and she puts a whole bunch of that in there as well. So not only do you have the aspect of fantasy and a whole different world that you're not used to, but you also have historical fiction. So that is the genre that I would place this in. Alright, I will start off with character development. I gave character development a 4 out of 5. I did that because I really enjoy most of the characters, but I would say that 1 or 2 of them I don't feel as connected with. I didn't like the way that Jacob was really set up. He wasn't really a character that I thought developed really well, or wasn't really in depth, whereas you have like the contrast with the other characters, which are so well constructed, like Katerina and Alexander and Olympias. Those are all really great characters that you see their development and how interesting they are and the choices that they make. And then you have Jacob, who is not as interesting, and neither is Zoe, unfortunately. So that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5 for character development, just because most of her characters were fantastic, but a few of them kind of seemed to fall behind all the rest. So that's why I gave character development 4 out of 5. Next, I'll do plot. I also gave plot a 4 out of 5. I would say it's pretty much the same reason as Tegan gave it. It was a fantastic idea for a story. I love the historical fiction, but it's not something that's completely unique and new, which is hard to do at this day and age for books, because most of our books fall around some, 5 or 6 regular plots. But this one, it was interesting, and I was interested in it, so I would give it a 4 out of 5, even though it's not as original. It's not like people haven't written about the Greek gods and Alexander the Great before. So it's a good twist on it. For readability, I gave this book a 5 out of 5. Oh, I lied. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because it's really easy to read, but if you're not familiar with Alexander the Great or any of that history and Greek mythology, it might get a little confusing just with like throwing out the names of the gods and goddesses and the different types of historical things that happen you might not know of if you weren't already aware of that history. So I would say I gave it a 4 out of 5 just because it's easy to read, you flow right through it, but those who don't know much about this history may not fly through it as quickly. So 4 out of 5 for readability. Writing style, I also gave it a 4 out of 5. Unlike Tegan, I didn't always enjoy the separate characters, only because for the first half of the book, it was really hard for me to figure out who was supposed to be the villain. The cover kind of makes it seem like the villain is Hef. And so when you're starting to read it, that's kind of what you're expecting. And then as you get into it and you see Hef's point of view, you realize that he's not the villain, or at least not the main villain. And then you have other people that are kind of being villains, and then other people who you can sympathize with the villains. So it gets a little bit confusing about, there's no distinct line between the villains and then the non-villains, which for one, it can be kind of confusing, but also kind of interesting just because of the way that she crafts her characters. It kind of shows how well she does make the reader sympathize with the villain, which doesn't always happen, right? Most people, when they see a villain, they're like, I could never be like that. But then you see the reasons why these people are villains, and you can be like, ooh, well, bad circumstances, I can understand why they might be a little worse than other people. Not to excuse their behavior, because it's inexcusable, but you kind of sympathize with them just a little. So I gave the writing style a 4 out of 5 because of that. Next is cover art. I will show you the cover again. Here it is, Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman. I gave this a 5 out of 5, and I did that because I love how it looks. It's got the sword, it's got a little bit of blood on the sword, so you can kind of tell that it's not just like a happy-go-lucky type of book. It's got some mischief and some blood and some action in it. I love the name, Legacy of Kings. It makes it really interesting. It catches your eye, and my favorite part is that it's purple. I love the purple color, not just because I love purple, but because purple symbolizes royalty, and I think it's a perfect pick for this book. So the cover is a 5 out of 5, 100%. I mean, look at it. I would totally pick this up. Well, actually, it's funny because I did pick it up. All right. My last category is enjoyment, and I also gave this a 4 out of 5. For the same reasons I've already mentioned. The struggle between distinguishing villain and hero makes me not want to give it a 5, but I can't give it anything lower than a 4 because I really did enjoy this book. I couldn't put it down. So my total is going to be a 4.5 out of 5, which I feel is completely fitting because I had some reservations about the book, but I definitely overall enjoyed it. I recommend it. I think you should read it. I think you'll enjoy it. So I think a 4.5 out of 5 is accurate for me. For next week, we finally decided on a book. I know it's been a little bit behind, but that was because of me. Sorry. But we actually decided about 10 minutes ago what book we're going to do next week, and we're going to do Mr. Murder by Dean Koontz. So we are again stepping out of our young adult literature and out of fantasy, and we're going into murder. So that'll be fun. Don't forget to view our videos. Tegan does a whole bunch of awesome videos every week. She's got like bookshelf tours and book haul videos. Everyone should go watch those. She's fantastic. I love watching her. We have links at the bottom of our videos to our blogs, Tegan's book. Let us know how we're doing. Give us suggestions for books. Subscribe to our channel. Anything you can do to support us. Thanks for watching. Bye.